Hello. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Connect Creatio to quickly and easily build integrations with Creatio on the fly. My name is Megan Sheehan, and I have over 10 years of experience in the CRM, marketing automation, and integration space in various roles, including as a trainer, business analyst, and project manager. I'm currently the Director of Project Management at Technology Advisors, where we are the creators of Connect Creatio and StarfishETL, the platform that powers it. So what is Connect Creatio? Connect Creatio is a low-code, no-code platform for data migrations and integrations. With starter templates and a powerful low-code designer, you can easily migrate data to Creatio and connect Creatio with your other business systems. Connect Creatio has connectors to hundreds of applications. You can see some of the more popular ones here. Visit our website, connectcreatio.com, for a full list of connectors. We are continually adding new connectors to the platform and can work with you to build a connector to any application that has APIs. For some of the more popular integrations, we have starter templates available to accelerate your integration project. You can start with a basic template and then adapt it to your specific needs, such as adding any custom fields to your data sync. Our Connect Creatio designer allows you to design your integration to match your exact needs. The designer makes it easy to map fields from one system to another and to add data transformations as needed so that the data meets the requirements of both applications. StarfishETL, the platform that powers Connect Creatio, has been consistently recognized by G2 and other analysts. And we already work with a number of Creatio partners and have numerous customers already using the platform. If you're interested in becoming a partner or learning more about our partner program, please let us know. I'm going to show you how easy it is to build an integration with Connect Creatio by building an integration between Creatio and Sage 100. I have done a little bit of pre-work here. So inside of Creatio, I've added a number of custom fields to hold some of the data that I want to bring over from Sage 100. And inside of Connect Creatio, I've already set up the connection to Sage 100, but I'll show you how easy this is to do by setting up the Creatio connection now. So I'm going to give my connection a name, choose from the long list of all of those connectors which one I want to use, and then simply input my username and password and my Creatio URL. I can then test to make sure that I typed everything in correctly and save my connection so that I can use it for my integration. I am going to use one of those starter templates, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the Import Project menu here. And this is where I can select that I'm going to connect Creatio with Sage 100 and choose my Creatio and Sage 100 connections. I can also set up which data I want to include in my sync and what way I want to sync that data. So I'm going to convert the account and contact sync into a bidirectional sync, and I'll leave the rest of the defaults and go ahead and let Connect Creatio generate a project for me. So now I can see that I've got a series of jobs or individual data flows between Creatio and Sage 100. For example, I can see I've got my sales order headers pushing from ERP to CRM, as well as my sales order details. And for something like accounts where I set up a two-way sync, I'm going to see two data flows, one from CRM to ERP and one from ERP back to CRM, so that I can control each of those directions, those data flows independently. Within each job, I'm going to have a series of tabs so I can set up all of the details of each data flow. The design tab is going to show me an overview of all of the steps that are going to happen when I run my job. The origin tab is where I'm going to set up the source of my data. In this case, it's coming from Sage 100, specifically from the customer table. Now I can get a list of all of the tables here, so I don't have to know the table names ahead of time. And I can also put filters in here if I don't want to sync all of my customers over to Creatio, which I'm going to do in a second. I never remember the name of the field that I want to filter on. So I'm going to go ahead and preview my data, which is going to show me all of the data that I'm getting back from Sage 100 with that particular query, which is just all of my customers. And I'm going to find, here it is, the customer status field, because I only want my active customers to come over. So I can put a filter in to say I only want to bring over rows where the customer status is A. And I can test to make sure that my filter is working correctly, as well as how many rows of data get returned so that I can get a quick kind of gut check. Is that the number that I was expecting, or is it, really high or really low? Similarly, the destination tab identifies where this data is going to go, in this case to Creatio. And here again, I can test to make sure that connection is still working correctly. The mappings tab is going to have really the nitty-gritty details of my data flow. So starting with where this data is going to go inside of Creatio, in this case, the account table. And here again, I'll open up the settings. You'll be able to choose from a list of all of the Creatio tables. So again, you don't have to know exactly what the table names are, and you can write data to any table inside of Creatio, including any custom sections or details that you've created. This is also where you're going to specify what type of data action you want to take. In this case, we're doing an update insert, which is pretty common for an integration. That just means that for each row, Connect Creatio is going to look to see if that data already exists in our destination. And we'll either update existing data or insert new data as needed. And so that way, if it's a customer that's already there, we're going to just update that customer record. But if it's a new customer that's been added to Sage 100, we'll create the corresponding account in Creatio. And we'll be able to specify what the matching logic for that is. I'll show you that in a minute. If I go ahead and expand the details here, this is where I'm going to see the actual field level mappings. So what we're looking at here is a list of all of the data fields in Creatio. And the ones that are highlighted in blue are the ones that are currently included in my sync. So you can easily tell at a glance, which data fields you're using and which ones you're not. In most cases, we're just doing a simple mapping of the data from one system to the other. So our customer name from Sage 100 is going into our name field in Creatio. Our date created is going into our created on field, and so on. And we can easily add additional mappings to this integration. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here where I've got my custom fields that I've created in Creatio. And I'd like to bring my customer number over. So I'm going to simply click in this first box to get a list of my Sage 100 fields. Here again, we're going to highlight the ones that are currently included in the sync. So all of the ones highlighted in this orange yellow color are included in my sync, and the ones that are not highlighted are currently not syncing. And I can see customer number right here at the top of the list. So I'm going to select that I want to take the customer number from Sage 100 and drop it into my customer number field in Creatio. I'm also going to check this first box here because I want to use that as my unique identifier between the two systems to match the data up. So I'm just going to set that as the matching field. Let's go ahead and map a few more of these custom fields here. So I want to bring over my credit limit, my balance, and my terms. Now, terms is set up as a lookup field in Creatio, so I've got a few different options for how I'm going to work with that. I'm simply going to take the terms as they are in Sage 100 and drop them in as values on my lookup list inside of Creatio. And so Connect Creatio is smart enough to manage that list for me that way. If a new terms code gets added to Sage 100, it will just add that value to this lookup list in Creatio as it processes that data. Sometimes, though, I need to transform my data a bit from one system to another. And that can happen with lookups, although I didn't need to on this one. It also happens sometimes with data formatting. So if I look at this credit hold field, I can see in the preview here that it's got values like N. So it's like Y or N, yes or no value. In Creatio, my Boolean field needs a 0 or 1 value, for 0 for no and 1 for yes. And so I'm going to have to take those Y and N values and turn them into 1 and 0 values for Creatio. And I can do that by just using the function options that are built into Connect Creatio. So there are a few different ways that I could do that, but I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick script here. This is pretty simple logic. Connect Creatio supports scripting in a few different languages, so you can pick the one that you're most comfortable with or that's most relevant to what you're trying to do. I'm just going to do a simple if-else statement here. So if my credit hold is Y, then I want to send a 1 to Creatio, and otherwise I want to send a 0. And some of the base templates do include some scripting fields as well. So the address field was scripted in our base template here. Again, this is just a simple data transformation. In Sage 100, the address is split up across 3 separate address fields for line 1, 2, and 3. In Creatio, there's just a single address field that's a block of text for all the lines of the address. And so this is simply taking those 3 separate lines of the address and putting them together as one single value for Creatio. Another really commonly used tool for doing data transformations is to build what we call cross-reference lists, lists of values from one system to the other. So you can do this with drop-down lists if you've got different values that you need to have in the 2 systems, or it's also something we'll do a lot with IDs between the 2 systems. And you can see an example of that here. Our users have a Sage 100 ID and they have a Creatio ID. So we need to transform that Sage 100 ID that we're seeing in our origin data to the Creatio ID that Creatio is expecting to get for that user. So I'm going to go ahead and create a cross-reference list for that. Here again, I've done a little bit of pre-work. So I've created a list of the Sage 100 IDs versus the Creatio IDs. Well, then I can simply copy and paste that list into Connect Creatio. And this import tool will transform that into a list that the Connect Creatio can actually use of the Sage 100 IDs versus the Creatio IDs. And then it's really easy to reference that list inside a mapping. So for something like the owner field here, we can see all we're doing is telling Connect Creatio to use that user's cross-reference list, pass in or find the Sage salesperson number, and just return the corresponding Creatio ID for that user into the owner field. You can also create cross-reference lists as you're processing data. So you can actually see we've got some post processes that are going to happen as our data is processed to create those cross-reference lists. So we're just simply logging the Sage customer number versus the Creatio ID for the record that we've updated or inserted into Creatio, so that we can reference that in some of our other jobs where we're going to have Sage customer numbers in them, things like our orders and our invoices. We could do a real-time lookup to find the corresponding Creatio ID, or we can keep a running history of them in our cross-references and more efficiently find that corresponding ID. There's also a post process here to track the last run date. That's going to be important if you're using batch data processing. I'm not going to need that for this particular demonstration, so I'm going to go ahead and just remove that. Once we're done with our mapping, we can then preview what our sync is going to do. So this is going to give us a side-by-side comparison for a single row of data. Here's what the origin data from Sage 100 looks like, and here's what our integration is going to pass to Creatio. So we can see here, for example, that transformation of the IDs from those Sage 100 IDs to the Creatio user IDs. We can see that the N has successfully transformed to a 0. And we can also see that this particular row is going to process as an insert. So it did not find a corresponding record in Creatio with this customer number, which makes sense because none of this data exists in Creatio right now. And you can, look at multiple rows here. You don't have to just look at the first row. You can page through or even target specific rows in your data set if there's something in particular you're looking to test, especially in terms of your transformations. Once you're done testing or previewing and you're ready to actually start pushing the data, we'll go over to our Run Job tab here and just click our Start Job button. This is going to actually start pushing data to Creatio, and it will give us a running history as it does. We can see that it's doing a bunch of inserts here, and we get a history completion message when it's completed. If there were any error messages, we would also get an error message return so we could see exactly what the problem was and go work to resolve that. And you can also process just a subset of data if you didn't want to run the entire data set. This is a small enough one that, it's processed pretty quickly. But if you had a larger data set, you want to start with a subset just to see how everything's working, you certainly could do that. If we process that again, we're going to see this time they process as updates because now those accounts already exist in Creatio. And in fact, we could go see them over here now if we wanted. So here we've got our customers that have been inserted with our Sage 100 data. So of course, you're going to want to go through and set up all of these individual data flows. You probably have, small tweaks you want to make to all of them, custom fields and so on that you want to include in the mapping. Once you've got everything all set up, you can then schedule the job to run on a regular basis. This could be, every 5 minutes, once an hour, or also something like once a day overnight, or even once a week if you wanted something to run less frequently. Connect Creatio does also have APIs available. So if you want to do more of a real-time sync, you could set it up where you call an API from Creatio or from Sage 100 to start Connect Creatio job running whenever you want to. Every time the job runs, we'll get a running history of it here in our job history tab. So you can always go back and see a history of what's happened with your sync. It will log, how many rows were included and how many updates or inserts were processed, as well as any errors. Again, you'd be able to download the error log from here to dig into the details if you were getting any error messages. And we also keep a running history of any changes that you've made to your mapping so that you can always go back if you need to revert to a previous version, for example, of your integration, you can go back and find the changes that you've made. So to summarize, Connect Creatio is a low-code platform for connecting Creatio with your other business systems, both for one-time data migrations and for ongoing integrations. You've seen how quick and easy it is to build an integration with Connect Creatio. If you've got any questions or you're interested in learning more, you can visit us at connectcreatio.com or find us on Creatio's marketplace, or reach out to us at sales@connectcreatio.com or 847-655-3417. Thanks for watching.